Welcome back to the Fantasy Academy, everyone, for Week 8 start-sit of the NFL season. We're going to be going through quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends that you should be starting in your rosters for fantasy football this week, as well as quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends that you should be keeping out of your lineups for this week. And we're going to be talking through more of the fringe players. We're not going to be talking about the obvious players that you should be throwing in your lineups every week, those Lamar Jackson's, Patrick Mahomes types. But we're going to be talking about the players that are more on the fringe. Maybe you want to throw in your flex or maybe not. So let's get straight into it with quarterbacks. But first, please go ahead and give the Fantasy Academy a subscribe and a like. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear who you're thinking about starting or sitting. We would love to help you talk through that. So let us know below, and let's have a little bit of a discussion here. So for quarterbacks, let's get straight into it. We've got Teddy Bridgewater going against the 32nd ranked Atlanta defense, 32nd against quarterbacks. So they allow a lot of points to the quarterbacks. So we're going to get Teddy Bridgewater in our lineup. He's had some strong games this season, so we know he can do it. And then we've got Jimmy Garoppolo going against the 31st ranked Seattle defense. So going up against really poor defenses against quarterbacks. So we're going to throw both those guys in. Then we've got Baker Mayfield going against Las Vegas Raiders. Still weird to say Las Vegas, but they're 29th against quarterbacks. So Baker Mayfield should have a strong week, even though he doesn't have OBJ. He's still got got Donovan Peoples-Jones, the rookie, who's kind of emerging. Still has Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, or Harrison Bryant, who had a huge week last week. So he can still have a great game. And then we've got Nick Foles going up against New Orleans, ranked 28th against quarterbacks, and we'll talk a little bit about Jimmy Graham later and how he might have a good game. And then we've got Derek Carr going against Cleveland, ranked 25th against quarterbacks. So be sure to get Derek Carr in your lineup in Week 8. He has had a strong 2020 so far as well. For quarterbacks, you should be sitting in Week 8. We've got Matt Stafford going against the number 1 ranked Indianapolis defense. So be sure to keep him out of your lineups this week. And we've got Daniel Jones going up against Tampa Bay, the 3rd ranked defense against quarterbacks. We've seen them all season. They've been really solid. So keep Daniel Jones out of your lineup. Even though the dude can run like a gazelle, but not make it to the end zone. We all saw him rumbling, stumbling, bumbling last week. That was fun to watch. Of course it would happen to Daniel Jones too, right? Then we've got Tua Tagovailoa against the LA Rams. He's got Aaron Donald coming at him. He's thrown against Jalen Ramsey, so it's not going to be a fun day for Tua in his rookie debut. So the Rams are ranked 7th against the quarterback. So keep Tua out of your lineup. I don't think he's going to have as great of a game, first game like he did for Alabama in the championship, throwing a huge TD and winning the game. So keep Tua out of your lineup. Then we've got Sam Darnold going against Kansas City. Obviously, keep Sam Darnold out of your lineup. Kansas City is ranked 9th against quarterbacks. And lastly, we have Ben DiNucci, who was bagging groceries at Safeway probably a couple months ago. Ben DiNucci, not sure, probably Italian. But he's going up against Philadelphia, ranked 20th against quarterbacks. I don't really care what defense he's going against. Don't play Ben DiNucci in your lineup this week. Or Andy Dalton, if he's back, I wouldn't play him as well, just because he hasn't really shown us much yet either. And then for running backs, definitely Melvin Gordon we're going to start this week, especially if Philip Lindsay is going to be out with head injury still. He got a concussion in Week 7, I believe. So Melvin Gordon has been strong when Lindsay has been out. They're going against the Chargers, 12th ranked against running backs. So Gordon should be a strong play in Week 8. And we've got Boston Scott with Miles Sanders out last week, had a big Week 7. And they're going against Dallas in Week 8, ranked 27th against running backs. So get Boston Scott in your lineup again. Darrell Henderson going against Miami. Darrell Henderson for the Rams. If you're not playing this guy in your league, you really don't know what you're doing this far. But I want to put him on here because he's not a household name. It's not a big name. But you should definitely be throwing him in your lineup going against Miami, who's ranked 24th against running backs. And then Ronald Jones going against the Giants. Fournette might be coming back, but Ronald Jones is still going to be taking on the bulk of the carries in this offense. And Rojo's looked great so far this season, so be sure to get him in against the Giants. And lastly, for running backs you're going to start, we've got Giovanni Bernard. In the absence of Joe Mixon, has had a huge week in Week 7, put up 20 points in my Dynasty League, and they're going against the 22nd ranked defense in Tennessee against running backs. So those are the running backs you're going to be starting. As far as running backs we're going to be sitting, Baltimore running backs. Whether it's Mark Ingram, he may or might not be playing this week with injury, but then we've got Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson might run for 120 yards. We just don't know who's going to get the bulk of the carries and yards in that offense, and they're going against the third-ranked Pittsburgh defense. So I say stay away from all Baltimore running backs in Week 8. Just stray away. Then we've got Josh Kelly for Denver, second-ranked defense against running backs. Josh Kelly received the most carries last week for the Chargers, so I would just stay away from him, go against that Denver defense. Then we've got Giants running backs, whether it's Devonta Freeman or Wayne Gallman, Dion Lewis, whoever it might be, they're going up against that great Tampa Bay defense. So keep them out of your lineups. Then we've got Adrian Peterson going up against Indianapolis. We know how great of a defense Indianapolis has, and Adrian Peterson is seeing DeAndre Swift take over more of a role. Peterson's losing carries each game, it seems like. So stay away from Peterson in Week 8. Then we've got David Montgomery going against New Orleans. Montgomery just hasn't shown any excitement this year from the backfield. He'll get 4 or 5 targets a game and 40 rushing yards and 20 receiving yards, and maybe he'll get 10 points or something. But the dude is not exciting at all, and he's going up against a pretty solid New Orleans defense against running backs. So stay away from David Montgomery. Those are the running backs you're going to be starting and sitting in Week 8. Let's move on to wide receivers. Brandon Ayukin. Make sure to get him in your lineup this week. I put him in for Robert Woods. The 49ers are going against Seattle, ranked 32nd against wide receivers. So Ayuk has been solid. He's been showing, why they drafted him in the first round. So definitely get Ayuk in your lineups in Week 8. He's going to have a big week. And then we've got Allen Lazard going against the 31st ranked Minnesota defense. Devontae Adams is going to get his fill, but Allen Lazard is going to get his as well against his defense. So get him in your lineups if you're thinking, if you're really thinking on that one. And we've got Henry Ruggs going against the 30th ranked Cleveland defense. So I'm thinking that they're going to throw deep to Ruggs at least maybe 4 times this game. So if he pops off for 2 huge touchdowns, I feel like he could be a real strong boom-bust player this week. He could go off for 20 to 35 points if he has a couple big plays. So against this trashy pass defense of Cleveland. So he's someone that you could definitely put in if you don't have more consistent guys to throw in your flex or receiver spots. Then we've got Travis Fulgham going against Dallas, 29th ranked defense against wide receivers. Fulgham has been solid so far. If you just watch him, he has a beautiful body for football. Dude just looks so athletic, fluid, great hands. I think he really has a future coming out of Old Dominion. No one really, he wasn't on anyone's radar except Philadelphia Eagles, I guess. But Fulgham has been strong and consistent since he's been playing, so get him into your lineup in Week 8. And then we've got Robbie Anderson, who's also had a huge year for Carolina so far. He's going up against a real bad Atlanta pass defense, ranked 28th. So be sure to get Robbie Anderson in your lineups. And as far as wide receivers you should be sitting in Week 8, Devontae Parker going up against the LA Rams. And if you know me, you know I love Jalen Ramsey. He shut down Allen Robinson last week, and I told y'all not to play Allen Robinson. And he was trash last week against Jalen Ramsey. And so do not play Devontae Parker in Week 8 against the Rams. Then we've got Traquan Smith going against Chicago, really strong, ranked 4th against wide receivers, really strong defense. Michael Thomas is probably going to be back, hopefully. I haven't been able to play him all season other than his 4 points that he got me in the first game of the season. So keep Traquan Smith out of your lineups for Week 8. and he's probably going to have less of a role the rest of the season if Thomas is back. And then we've got Jamison Crowder going against Kansas City, 7th ranked defense against wide receivers. Crowder might be out with injury anyway, but if he plays, they're going to be keying on him, so I doubt he has a big game going up against that solid KC defense. So keep him out of your lineups. And then we've got Darius Slayton going against Tampa Bay. We know how great their defense is. Slayton is coming off injury if he does play. And they, Golden Tate is there. Sterling Shepard emerged last week, so they've got, a few more guys to throw to. Ball's going to be going to different guys rather than just Slayton. So keep him out of your lineups week 8. And then we've got Julian Edelman going up against the 9th-ranked Buffalo defense. And I don't really know what to say about this one. Cam just doesn't seem to be able to get the ball out. I don't know if it's Cam's fault or the offensive strategy. But Julian Edelman hasn't been great this season. And he's going against a solid defense in Buffalo, pass defense anyway. And so keep Julian Edelman out of your lineups in week 8. And let's move on finally to tight ends that you're going to be starting and sitting. Give the green light to Jimmy Graham. We talked about Nick Foles earlier, going to have a big week probably. And so I think Jimmy Graham is going to have a big week as well. They're going to against New Orleans, and they have the 30th ranked defense against tight ends. So get Jimmy Graham in your lineup. Dalton Schultz, even though they've got Ben DiNucci, I think I think he's going to be dumping it down to Dalton Schultz a lot as kind of a safety valve, and they're going up against Philadelphia, who's 27th against tight ends. So could be a big week for Schultz in week 8. But we've got Drew Sample, who's been solid all season for the Bengals, going against Tennessee, the 25th ranked defense against tight ends. And then we've got Dallas Goedert and Richard Rodgers. Whoever is starting for the Philadelphia Eagles, they love their tight ends, and Dallas's defense is trash. We all know that. They're ranked 24th against tight ends, and so whether Goddard is starting, he could have a big game, or if Richard Rodgers is starting, he'll probably have a big game. If they both start, they'll probably both put up at least 10 points, just because Philly loves their tight ends that much. And then lastly, we've got Noah Fant. Get him in your lineup. They're going against the Chargers, ranked 22nd against tight ends. And we know Noah Fant is solid. Had an okay week last week, but I think Drew Lock is going to start getting him the rock a little bit more. And so you can count on him in week 8. And then we have tight ends that you should be sitting. Last week I had TJ Hawkinson as a sure play, and he did great. But I believe he had 2 touchdowns. But this week I've got him as a sit. So he's going up against Indianapolis, which is the best defense against tight ends. So I had Matt Stafford as a sit. I've got TJ Hawkinson as a sit. And then we've got Tyler Higbee going against Miami, which surprisingly, they have the 2nd best defense against tight ends. And Tyler Higbee hasn't really been strong this season, other than his one big game where he had 3 touchdowns. So he was supposed to be like a blow-up player, blow-up tight end for 2020, and he had that one big game, but other than that, hasn't been great. And then we've got Jack Doyle going against Detroit, the 4th best defense against tight ends. I want to talk about this. Jack Doyle scored a touchdown. It was either week 7 or week 6, where he got knocked out when he landed for his touchdown, and no one talked about it. The announcers didn't talk about it. I don't know if I just have good eyes and I saw that he got knocked out and then woke up, because he literally had to ask his teammate, did I score or did I get knocked out? Because dude was blacked out, knocked out. So you heard it here first. If you didn't see it, you should go and look it up. But it's real interesting that he caught the ball, came down, hit his head, and still got the touchdown, and woke up and was like, well, I guess I scored. Cool. But no one talked about it. Heard it here first. Don't play him against Detroit in week 8. Then we've got Greg Olsen. Will Dissly is starting to see more of a role in Seattle. And they're going against San Francisco, the 5th best defense against tight ends. So keep Greg Olsen, old Greg, out of your lineups. And then we've got Buffalo Bills tight ends, Dawson Knox, Tyler Kroft. Don't play him in week 8. They're going to be going up against New England, 7th best defense against tight ends, and they just don't produce enough for you to put them in for you to have them in your lineups. So keep them out of it. And that is it for us for week 8 start sit. Let us know who you're planning on starting, who you're planning on sitting. If you have a question about who you should start or who you should sit, let us know. We love having some discussion down below in the comments. Be sure to give us a like, a follow, and we love you guys so much. And we'll be with you next week for week 9 start sit, and then Jeff's got the waiver wire videos as well. So we will see you then. I'm out.